Part 5. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 42. Minjiao Hotel. After Sutingyu got off the bus, she collected her luggage and paid the remaining balance to the driver. The hotel covers a large area, the surrounding greenery and fountains are beautifully designed, and the environment is quite good. In front of the hotel door, some men and women with suitcases came in and out. Sutingyu looked around and found a meatball squatting in the corner next to the door, shaking from time to time. He was full of joy. Sutingyu took a closer look and saw that he was a relatively rich-looking man. He should be around 30 years old. He had an ordinary appearance, but he looked a bit naive. At this time, the fat man at the door seemed to have seen hope. His spherical body trembled, jumped up very nimbly, and threw himself at the few men who had just come out of the door. The three men were talking and laughing, but the moment they saw the fat man, their smiles disappeared and their eyes darkened. The fat man stopped in front of the three of them, and a flattering smile appeared on his face. "Brother Liang, please take me." The leading man looked at the fat man with empty hands, and shook his head. "It's not that I don't want to show you face, but I want you to be with me." "Is there some way to show it?" As he said that, he rubbed the first 3 fingers of his right hand together, which was obvious. The fat man looked embarrassed. "Brother Liang, I gave you 6 gold necklaces, 4 jade bracelets, 2 diamond rings, 20 gold bars. I have nothing on me now." Upon hearing this, Brother Liang's face turned cold and he pushed the fat man away mercilessly. Gun, you want to hug your thigh without giving me any benefits? Do you want to eat your shit? Get out of here. Don't block the road, fat guy." The 2 younger brothers beside Brother Liang smiled playfully at the fat man, their eyes full of ridicule. Then give your things back." The fat man was almost pushed down, but fortunately, he used his body shape to stabilize his lower body and wrapped around the 3 more people. "What is that? You fat guy, don't block the way, or I'll cut you." Brother Liang's eyes were fierce and he threatened. The fat man was suddenly discouraged and frightened. This little farce attracted the attention of the people around. Sutingyu, who was standing aside, roughly figured out the reason through a few words. The NPC fat man who carried gold bars was defrauded of his money. The latter turned against him and refused to recognize him. Now the owner of the misfortune comes to the door, but he is forced to bow to the evil forces. Pitiful. Sutingyu said that she sympathized with the fat man, but was helpless. She was just a weak little fairy. The trio walked towards Sutingyu's side of the road with high spirits. "Brother Liang, now that we have funds, let's go stock up on food and water. With the supplies, I will definitely be able to pass the level easily this time." Player. Not an NPC? This thought crossed Sutingyu's mind. Seeing that the distance between her and the trio was within 2 meters, she silently muttered query in her heart. "Passerby. Brother Liang is mighty and majestic. Girls skirt. Oh haha. It's a player." Sutingyu's eyes lit up, and he quickly stopped in front of the trio and spoke righteously. "Stop. You are so abominable. You are actually defrauding people of their money." The trio stopped and looked at each other. Where did this little girl movie come from? I'm afraid he's not a fool, right? The fat man, who was a little unwilling to give up, followed behind and almost burst into tears when he saw this scene. It turns out that there are still good people in this world. While being moved, the fat man was worried about this little girl who looked soft and frail. He gritted his teeth and trotted over. "Brother Liang, she is just a little girl. You, sir, have a lot of..." Sutingyu still held her head high and did not flinch at all. As a kind and lovely little fairy, how can she tolerate evil forces bullying innocent people? It is everyone's responsibility to defeat evil forces and build a harmonious society. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 43. Panting, The fat man stood in front of Sutingyu. Brother Liang, this is a civilized society. We must be harmonious to make money. Go away. Brother Liang pushed the fat man away fiercely and glared at the little girl in front of him with a gloomy look. Has the little girl been weaned? How dare you meddle in other people's business? Sutingyu was short in stature and rather cute in appearance. She had a delicate face and big eyes as bright as jade beads, exuding a harmless childishness. Anyone who looked at her at first glance would think she was just a weak girl underage. Brother Liang, who was tall and powerful, was like a high wall, blocking Sutingyu's face. He had a fierce look on his face, and he was very difficult to deal with at first glance. The onlookers couldn't help but feel sorry for the little girl. How could such a cute little girl act so stupidly to stand up for a stranger? Some passers-by couldn't see it and quietly dialed 110. Sutingyu stared back without showing any signs of weakness. Give you a chance to hand over all your belongings to the owner of the belongings. Snored. Don't think that praising her for being young will let them off. The kind and cute little fairy will do justice to God today, punish evil and promote good, combat the arrogance of evil and spread the light of friendship. The trio looked confused. Why does the meaning of this sound so weird, especially like the way they robbed the fat sheep before? Get out of the way, Brother Liang reacted and looked angry. Someone actually asked him to spit out the good things he had swallowed. He was simply looking for death. Brother Liang didn't have any sympathy for her, so he hit Sutingyu with a heavy fist. Get away, Fatty shouted anxiously. Some passers-by couldn't bear to look directly at the bloody scene that would happen next, and wanted to turn away. Boom! A heavy slap sounded, and under everyone's stunned gaze, an afterimage flew out in a swish, and then hit the concrete ground 10 meters away. The fat man's fat hand, which had been stretched out tremblingly, shivered and retracted, and he even put it in his mouth to take a bite. Pain. Not a dream. The fat man came back to his senses, and his unspeakable eyes fell on Sutingyu, who was holding a brick. He then looked at Brother Liang, who was knocked away, opened his mouth, and completely lost his voice. The scene was stagnant. Sutingyu automatically blocked the strange gazes around him, and glanced at Brother Liang's two younger brothers with his big innocent eyes, both looking stunned and confused. Hand over all your belongings. Do you two have any objections? Sutingyu was holding a smaller version of the stone tablet in his right hand and pointed it lightly at the two of them. Damn, dead girl, Brother Liang struggled to get up. Most of the left side of his face was red and swollen. There was a mouthful of blood in his mouth, and he spat it out on the ground. The blood seemed to be mixed with 2 or 3 yellow-white teeth. Brother Liang covered his leaky mouth and cursed, "What are you doing standing there in a daze? Beat her to death." The two younger brothers came to their senses and rushed towards Sutingyu with fierce eyes. Then, bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Bah, bah, bah. 1 minute later, the trio were all beaten to the ground, unable to get up. Their noses were bruised, their faces were swollen and their teeth were broken. They were desperate, confused, and lifeless. Come here, Sutingyu waved to the fat man. The fat man swallowed his saliva and moved over with a fearful expression. What's the matter? Sutingyu pointed to the trio on the ground. Looking for your 6 gold necklaces, 4 jade bracelets, 2 diamond rings, and 20 gold bars. Huh? Oh. The fat man nodded blankly, squatted down next to the trio, and then quickly raised and lowered his hands. Necks, fingers, trouser pockets, and even taking off the 3 people's shoes, in less than 2 minutes, the fat man was holding a pile of shining treasures. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 44. Sutinyu asked, have you got them all? The fat man shook his head, some of them didn't bring them with them. They should have left them in the hotel. I took their ID cards and room cards. By the way, as he said that, he took out a similarly golden card from a pile of treasures. A room card with the Minjiu Hotel logo printed on it. Let's go get it back. Sutinyu took the room card with a normal expression and pushed the suitcase into the hotel. The fat man stood at a loss for a moment. He caught a glimpse of the police car coming from the corner of his eye. He shivered and subconsciously followed Sutinyu into the hotel. Hotel reception. Sutinyu checked the information with the lady at the front desk and got her room card. The fat man followed him panting. Sutinyu looked at the room number on the trio's room card and said to the fat man, their room is on the 6th floor. Let's take the elevator. Okay, what could the fat man say? He could only follow. Did he beep dash? The sound of a police car rang outside the hotel door. After the police car stopped, 2 male police officers came out of the car. Seeing this chaotic scene, one policeman shouted, "What happened?" Which citizen called the police? "It's me, comrade policeman." An enthusiastic citizen raised his hand. "What happened? How come someone was injured?" the police asked after seeing the miserable trio. "They seem to have defrauded a fat man of his property." The policeman who was about to help the person immediately retracted his hand and his eyes became serious. Then a little girl acted bravely and helped to retrieve the property. The policeman looked confused. And what about their injuries? 3 grown men bullied a little girl. This was the result of the little girl's legitimate defense. An enthusiastic citizen quietly changed the explanation to a just one. Hearing this, the 2 policemen looked at the trio with a hint of contempt. Useless. I have been eating rice for so many years in vain. Finally, the trio, who were crying without tears, were handcuffed and put into a police car. The police questioned the concerned citizens and learned that the victim and the brave girl had entered the hotel. Minjiu Hotel, 6th floor, room 606. Sutinyu swiped the room card and opened the door smoothly. 3 grown men share a room, and within a few hours of the game starting, luggage has been thrown around and everything is a mess. The fat man became very flexible at this time and conducted a blanket search, determined not to miss any suspicious corner. 5 minutes later, the fat man found all the property that had been defrauded, and also found a few more stacks of cash, about 30 to 40,000, which was the currency in the dungeon. If the trio hadn't had the dungeon identity, it would have probably been them again. Slaughter other fat sheep. The fat man picked up a supermarket shopping bag on the ground, put all his belongings in it, tied it in a knot, held it in his arms, and expressed his gratitude to Sutinyu with a smile. "Thank you, boss." When Sutinyu conjures a brick out of thin air, the NPC will assume that the existence of the brick is reasonable, and as a player, Fatty realizes that Sutinyu is also a player. He defeated 3 male players with just 1 brick. Needless to say, he must be a big player. While taking the elevator, Sutinyu had already checked Fatty's dashboard. Traveling north and south. It's a pretty cool game nickname, but it doesn't fit in with me at all. When searching the player panel in the dungeon, he could only see the opponent's game nickname, but Sutinyu guessed that Fatty was probably a novice player who had never played the game a few times. Guessing, Sutinyu still had to ask more clearly, "Fat man, how many times has this been your game?" "Boss, this is my 2nd time playing this game." The fat man scratched his head, looking honest. A novice player, Sutinyu raised her eyebrows and assumed the posture of a powerful veteran player. "Fat man, I've done you a favor. Isn't it too much to ask for some benefits?" The fat man looked dumbfounded. Why did he feel that he could no longer keep the gold necklace, bracelet, and diamond ring he had just returned? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 45. Sutinyu caught a glimpse of the fat man's grief-stricken expression of "My parents are dead," and raised his eyebrows slightly. "I only want half of it." Without me, you wouldn't even have a gold bar. In dungeons with cataclysmic attributes, materials always come first, and money can buy materials. Sutingyu's current money is enough for a month's normal travel and entertainment expenses, but it is a bit uncertain to spend 20 days peacefully in the dungeon. Gold necklaces, bracelets, gold bars, etc. can be converted into money to stock up on supplies. Sutingyu thought that she had helped the fat man, and taking away half of the belongings was not excessive at all. It's not like they took all the property by force. Who makes her a kind and lovely little fairy? Nothing wrong with it at all. The boss is right. Without the help of the boss, I wouldn't be able to see a single gold bar. The fat man thought in his mind, and suddenly an idea flashed. His eyes looking at Sutingyu became fiery again, and his face became more determined. The color, boss, I owe you all this, as long as you take me through the customs. Sutingyu, meow, meow, meow. Aren't we talking about dividing the spoils? Why did you get involved with taking care of your little brother? And bringing a younger brother who is so fat? Although the fat man is a bit timid, he has lived for more than 20 years and has some knowledge and experience. He is not stupid at all. Sutingyu helped him get back his property. Although he had to share half of it, he didn't rob it by force and didn't try to take it all. In terms of character, he was better than Brother Liang and the others. The most important thing is that Sutingyu is better than Brother Liang and the others. If you don't hold your thighs now, when will you wait? The fat man, who had thought everything through, no longer felt bad about giving away his warm baby before he could hold it in his arms. Isn't Fatty's intention of bringing so many treasures into the dungeon just to clear the level? Now use your treasures to please the boss. Once the boss is happy, wouldn't it only take a matter of minutes to guide him through the level? Not a loss. No loss at all. The smile on the fat man's face became more and more sincere. No, Sutingyu refused. The fat man's smile froze, and he suddenly panicked. Boss, why? Trouble? Sutingyu expressed disgust. The fat man began to sell himself hard. Boss, I am very obedient. If you tell me to go east, I will never go west. Sutingyu turned a deaf ear and opened the shopping bag, preparing to take out his half. Boss, my family has a little money. Next time we meet in the dungeon, all the gold bars, necklaces, and diamond rings I have on me will be given to the boss. Sutingyu paused for a moment, thought for a moment, and shook his head. The dungeons are usually randomly matched. Who knows if I will meet you again? We can form a team. I remember there was a team match. Don't want. Seeing that Sutingyu was about to pack up and leave, the fat man scratched his head and said, Boss, I can repair water pipes, air conditioners, mobile phones, computers, cars, drive, and cook. I am proficient in all major Chinese and Western cuisines, and I have a high-level diploma, the kind of certificate. Sutingyu was a little dumbfounded when he heard this, and looked at the ordinary fat man in front of him again. She couldn't help but ask, is there anything else you can't cultivate? Hearing this, the fat man scratched his head. I haven't noticed this. Boss, please consider taking me with you. I cook so well. I can make the dozen or so stray cats and dogs in my community cry. Sutingyu twitched the corner of his mouth and reluctantly let go. Okay. Mainly because she thought that she couldn't drive or cook, so the luxury cars in the small villa were left in the dust. Now in this dungeon, although you can order food and take out, what if you need to cook by yourself one day? Also, it's rare to encounter such an excellent fat man. It would be a pity if he died in the dungeon. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 46. Ding dong. The elevator door on the 7th floor opened. Sutingyu pushed the suitcase out, and the fat man followed closely behind with a big bag of stuff in his arms. Sutingyu lowered her head and glanced at the room number on the room card, 711. When she looked up again, she saw a man in a police uniform lingering at the door of her room. Sotinyu paused. "Boss, why did you stop?" the fat man who followed asked. The policeman who was wandering around saw someone coming, a fat man and a little girl, and his eyes lit up when he instantly matched the description given by the enthusiastic citizen. "Hello, I am a police officer from the Beiwa City Police Station. I received a call from the citizens saying that someone was defrauding people of money and bullying the weak." The policeman came over and explained his purpose in a few words. Sotinyu opened her big innocent eyes. "Uncle policeman, I didn't cheat money. I just came here as a tourist." For such a cute little girl, the policeman couldn't help but speak softly. "I have learned about what happened through other citizens. The 3 liars have been arrested. I am here to ask you to cooperate and go to the police station to record a statement." The police were serious, and Sotinyu and Fatty couldn't refuse. They couldn't refuse either. After going to the police station, Fatty explained the location, time, and amount of property he was defrauded. After waiting for an hour, the police obtained surveillance and confirmed that it was a trio who defrauded money, and became more friendly and approachable towards Sotinyu and Fatty. "Mr. Wu, the value of the property defrauded by the scammers is as high as 1 million. According to the law, those 3 scammers are waiting to go to jail," the police comrade said seriously. The fat man nodded repeatedly. "Thank you, comrade police. Okay, you can leave." The police comrade looked at Sotinyu. "By the way, little girl, it is a good thing to act bravely when there is a just cause, but this method can be slightly changed." If they hadn't watched the surveillance video several times, the police wouldn't have been able to believe that a frail little girl had beaten an adult man away with a brick. "Yeah," Sotinyu blinked his big eyes, with a harmless look on his face. "Uncle policeman, I acted bravely, can I get a bonus?" The policeman hesitated for a moment. "There is a pennant, do you want it?" "The pennant also costs money to make. Can it be directly converted into cash?" "It is easy to carry." "No, please leave quickly." After recording the confession, Sotinyu and Fatty finally left the police station and took a car back to the hotel. Sotinyu first checked out the trio's room, and then tricked the front desk girl into opening a new single room for free. If you check out and move in, a multi-occupancy room is more expensive than a single room. Sotinyu said angrily that there would be no need to calculate the difference. After finishing it, Sotinyu threw the fat man a new room card, which happened to be on the same floor as hers, just a few doors away. The fat man strolled around his room and ran to find Sotinyu with great satisfaction. "Boss, what are you going to do next?" the fat man rubbed his hands excitedly. After going back and forth for a long time, it was almost 7 o'clock in the evening. Sotinyu touched his stomach and made a decisive decision: eat. "Oh," the fat man nodded quickly. He almost forgot about eating even if the boss didn't mention it. Sotinyu and Fatty went to a nearby hot pot restaurant to eat. When Sotinyu asked Fatty why he was carrying such a valuable treasure, Fatty talked about his first copy with great interest. In the copy, Fatty found that his mobile phone, cash, and car keys were all missing in the real world, but only a gold necklace around his neck was still there. "Then, I speculated that players in the dungeon may not be allowed to bring items that do not conform to the worldview, and gold necklaces made of gold are hard currency, just like in the real world. Gold and silver have been hard currency since ancient times." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 47. In this dungeon, Fatty brought a bunch of treasures. Unfortunately, as soon as he entered the dungeon, before he could hide the treasures, he was spotted by the trio and deceived. When the fat man mentioned sad things, he felt a little embarrassed, and then changed the subject and talked about how after clearing the first dungeon, he got some game coins, game props, and game draws. Wait a minute, Sutinyu listened and felt something was wrong. After you released the dungeon, you were rewarded with several game props. The fat man counted, 1 main mission, 1 for level of autonomy, 1 for exploration of the dungeon, and 7 draws. 3 of them were game props, 2 game coins, 1 experience point, and 1 thank you for your patronage. There are 6 game props in total, 1 ordinary grade, 2 bronze grade, 1 diamond grade, and 2 that seem to be special props, without grade. After listening to what the fat man said, Sutinyu took a deep breath and took a bitter bite of the beef balls. Meow meow. Is this what I felt was wrong during settlement? That's it? Not a single game prop was seen. The only bronze prop was obtained through hard work in the dungeon. Sutinyu thought of her not-so-wonderful lottery experience and became even more depressed. The broken watch she drew was worse than not winning. After the fat man finished speaking, he looked at Sutinyu honestly. Boss, you must have passed a lot of games, right? 2. The fat man said to express that he didn't understand. This is also my second game, Sutinyu told the truth. Fatty was shocked. He had always thought that Sutinyu was a high-level player who had cleared the level at least 7 or 8 times. What normal girl would have the terrifying physical fitness of a trapeze artist with just a brick? It's still too late for you to give up teaming up with me. You can still take half of the property as a kind and lovely little fairy. She never fools people. No matter what, I'm determined to follow you, boss. Fatty was deeply impressed by Sutinyu's scene of filming the trapeze artist. Even if you are like him and have only played the game for the second time, you are still much better than yourself. Sutinyu was a little surprised. She thought the fat man would fall out and leave. Okay, Sutinyu touched his round belly. When you get the money tomorrow, go to the supermarket to buy food and water. The food should be easy to carry and have a long shelf life. Then bread and instant noodles are the first choices, Fatty said. Sutinyu suddenly thought of a question. By the way, what is your identity in this copy? When she saw the fat man, his hands were empty. If he hadn't been dressed neatly, she would have thought he was a beggar. I am also a tourist. I originally had a suitcase, but after I found out that I was deceived, the suitcase was deliberately opened by the 3 people and thrown into the ditch. The suitcase was soiled. The fat man scratched his head and said with embarrassment. Then you can use some of the money to buy clothes and stuff. Sutinyu felt so miserable just by listening to it, and instantly stopped being jealous of Fatty's 6 game props. After eating hot pot, the 2 returned to the hotel and agreed to go out to buy supplies at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and then go back to their rooms to rest. Copy the next day. At 8 o'clock in the morning, the fat man took out 3 gold necklaces and a bracelet, carefully wrapped them in soft cloth and put them in his pocket. The 2 went to the exchange, turned 3 gold necklaces and a bracelet into 1.2 million, and transferred them to Sutinyu's bank card. With money, first buy the fat man a mobile phone, clothes and other supplies, and then go to the largest supermarket nearby for a shopping spree. Because she bought too many things, Sutinyu took out some more money and asked the supermarket staff to send them directly to the hotel. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Sutinyu made a special trip to the largest flower trading center in Beiwa City. The flowers here were not very energetic. She also saw some flower shop owners cutting off or throwing away some withered flower branches. And the weather seems to be getting hotter. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 48. After a busy day, the 2 went to have dinner. In the Western restaurant, the fat man cut a piece of steak and ate it happily. Boss, the hotel room is a bit small and the supplies are almost full. Do you want to find a larger rental house? Sutinyu took a sip of the soup and said, well, there are many people in the hotel, so I will go out and look around in the next 2 days to see if there is anything suitable. From the beginning, Sutinyu didn't plan to stay in the hotel for 20 days. They brought so many supplies back today, and many people in the hotel have seen it. Nothing has happened yet, but when natural disasters strike and food and water become scarce, someone will definitely keep an eye on them. Moreover, taking advantage of the safety period in the past few days, Sotingyu wanted to confirm what kind of natural disaster it was as soon as possible, so it was impossible to just stay in the hotel. After dinner, Sotingyu returned to the room, looked at the supplies on the floor, thought of the inventory on the panel, and tried to put in a box of mineral water with some luck. Once. Twice. No response. Sotingyu took out the stone tablet from the inventory and put it back. The inventory can really only contain items produced in the mall or approved by the system. There is really no loophole to be exploited. This was expected. Sotingyu saw other players saying this on the forum. Not too disappointed. Bath. Sleep. Copy on the third day. Today, Sotingyu decided to go out and buy a car so that he could leave the hotel with supplies later. When he arrived at the car store, Fatty excitedly picked out a car, and then chose a black minivan worth 300,000 yuan. After paying the full amount at once, the car shop employees became more hospitable and friendly. Without saying a word, according to Sotingyu's request, only the driver's seat and the passenger seat were left, and the back seats were completely removed to leave more space. Then I bought 4 more barrels of gasoline and put them in the car for later use. Fatty was the driver, Sotingyu sat in the passenger seat, and the black van drove smoothly on the road. "Boss, where are we going?" Fatty asked while driving the car. Sotingyu pondered for a moment. "Go buy a city map of Beiwa City and prepare some knives." "Okay, boss." The city map of Beiwa City is not difficult to find. After all, it is a city with developed tourism. When going to the store to buy knives, Sotingyu chose 2 kitchen knives, a sickle and an axe, and packed them all into the car. At noon, the two found a restaurant to eat dumplings. The fat man just downloaded the weather forecast for his new mobile phone. When he saw the temperature today, it was 30 degrees Celsius, and it was on the rise. "Boss, isn't the natural disaster related to the high temperature? Is the copy trying to heat the players to death?" The fat man showed Sotingyu his cell phone. "There are 2 heavens of ice and fire, maybe one hot and one cold," Sotingyu answered. "Ah," the fat man took back his cell phone and took out a dumpling to eat. "It gets hot and cold for a while. This copy is quite torturous." Sotingyu took a bite of the dumpling. "Anyway, let's buy some winter clothes that can keep us warm tomorrow, and then go to the flower trade center in the afternoon." "Why are you going to the flower trade center?" The fat man scratched his head, a little confused. "There are many flowers and plants there, and animals and plants are often more sensitive to climate changes than humans," Sotingyu mentioned. In addition, Sotingyu wanted to confirm something. "Boss is awesome," the fat man suddenly realized and said a rainbow fart in time. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the two came to the largest flower trading center in Beiwa City. After parking the car, Sotingyu and Fatty walked into the flower trade center. Looking around, the originally bustling trade center became a little deserted. Some flower shops were closed. Those shops that were not closed had few customers in front of them. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 49. The fat man looked left and right, and every flower seemed to have lost its vitality. The petals were wrinkled by the sun and the moisture was severely lost. "Boss, these flowers feel like they are almost withered." Fatty has learned to grow flowers and knows basic common sense. "Many of these flowers cannot be saved." "Yes," Sotingyu responded casually, looking around. "Help me find cow." "Cow? What does cow look like?" The fat man scratched his head. "Go online and search for cow from Beiwa Market." Oh. The fat man searched the internet on his mobile phone and found many high-definition pictures of cow. "This is cow? It looks a bit like an orchid, and a bit like a snow lotus." Sutingyu saw a flower shop with a relatively large shop area. All the flowers were moved into the shop. The air conditioning was turned on inside. Looking through the glass window, every flower was in better condition than those in other flower shops. Phew. Go in and have a look. Sutingyu chose this flower shop at a glance and pushed the door open. There was a man standing next to the front desk of the flower shop. A black sun hat is buckled on his head, and a gray-black vest is put on his body. There is a white shirt underneath. The corners of the shirt are tucked into black trousers, and a cold metallic belt is wrapped around his waist. Under the straight long legs, the heels of black short boots were pressed together, and the body was straight and motionless. Hearing the noise, the man turned his head and glanced at Sutingyu with his indifferent eyes. He paused slightly. Sutingyu looked a little surprised when she saw the man, Qin-Chi. Qin-Chi turned his head and ignored her. Seeing this, Sutingyu walked over, and the fat man behind him was confused and followed him. "Good friend, why are you here too?" Sutingyu leaned over and asked. Qin-Chi glanced at Sutingyu, but still said nothing. At this time, a middle-aged man came out of the small room inside the front desk holding a pot of flowers. "We have another guest." When the middle-aged man saw Sutingyu and Fatty, he smiled and put the flower pot on the front desk. Sutingyu blinked. "Cow?" "Yes, it's Cow. I'm the manager of this store." "The little girl is here to see Cow, right?" the store manager asked with a smile. 2. Sutingyu turned to look at Qin-Chi. "Yes, I heard that the cow of Beiwa City is very special, so I came here to see it." Qin-Chi glanced at Cow, took out a bank card and handed it to the store manager. The store manager took the bank card with a bright smile and said to Sutingyu, "Little girl, you are too late. The cow of my store was bought by this gentleman." Sutingyu, meow, meow, meow. Pretended up. Qin-Chi finally spoke, just to the store manager. Okay, the store manager put away the bank card, picked up the cow, and put it into a special glass shield. Looking at the smiling expression on the store manager's face, there was no trace of reluctance. Sutingyu still remembered that the first day she asked if she could buy cow, she was kicked out like a dog. Is it possible that Qin-Chi's copy identity is a local? Not excluded, so you can buy cow. After Qin-Chi got the flower queen, he left the flower shop directly. "Boss, let's." The fat man felt something was wrong in the atmosphere and spoke tentatively. "Let's go. Cow has been taken away, why is it left here?" Sutingyu came here just to see Cow's condition. Cow seemed unaffected by the weather. Sutingyu left the flower shop a few seconds late, but found that Qin-Chi had not left. Sutingyu blinked his big eyes, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and trotted over. "Good friend, where are you going next?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 50. Qin-Chi glanced at Sutingyu and asked, "Where do you live?" "Minjiu Hotel, find a rental house in 2 days or something." Sutingyu told the truth, and then asked, "My good friend, where are you?" "Yunjian Community," Qin-Chi replied. When the fat man who followed heard Yunjian Community, his eyes lit up. Is it the Yunjian Community, a newly built luxury villa complex? Fatty has been paying attention to housing issues in the past 2 days. He has also seen Yunjian Community. There are only 20 villas in it. They are far away from the city. They have a quiet environment and strong security. However, it is too expensive there. They are only for sale and not for rent. A complex villa costs at least 500 million and can reach as high as 2 billion. Currently, only 4 have been sold. Qin-Chi, yeah. Sutingyu also thought of Yunjian Community, so she looked at Qin-Chi eagerly. "Good friend, can you take me with you?" If Qin agrees, he can save money on finding a place to live. Boss, and I. Fatty reminded in a low voice. Ahem, bring two. Sotingyu almost forgot that she also had a younger brother. Qin stared at Sotingyu for 2 seconds and nodded slowly. Go back to the hotel first and pack your luggage. Thank you. Good friend. The three of them left the flower trading center. Qin also had a car, which was a modified off-road vehicle with excellent performance. Back at the Minjiu Hotel, Sotingyu called a few hotel staff, gave them a tip, and asked them to move all the supplies into the car. The black van couldn't fit in, so Qin made room in his own van for Sotingyu. After loading the luggage and supplies, the two cars left the Minjiu Hotel one after the other. Yunjian Community, 404 villas. After the fat man got out of the car, he first admired what the single-family villa looked like. According to Fatty's understanding, in the real world, only a few villas abroad can reach the value of several billion. The average villa is worth hundreds of millions at most. But this was a dungeon, so the prices, currencies, etc. were different. Fatty admired it for a few seconds, then turned around to move the luggage and supplies. A fingerprint lock was installed on the door of the villa. After Qin opened the door, he asked Sotingyu and Fatty to save a fingerprint and enter. The villa has 5 floors and a basement. Supplies are stored on the first floor and in the basement. I live on the second floor, the third, fourth and fifth floors. You can do whatever you want. Qin briefly introduced the situation of the villa. Sotingyu blinked his big eyes. I live on the third floor. Brother Qin, then I'll live on the fourth floor. Fatty waited for Sotingyu to finish choosing before he said. The luggage of the two people was placed on the floor where they lived, and the supplies were placed on the first floor. It took the three people 15 minutes to move all the supplies and luggage in the car into the villa. The fat man walked around the kitchen on the first floor and found that there were complete kitchen utensils and a refrigerator, so he could cook his own meals. Boss, I'll go out to buy some food and come back to cook. Let's eat at the villa tonight, the fat man said happily. Okay. Sotingyu was curious as to whether Fatty's cooking skills had really won awards. The fat man turned around and asked Qin, Brother Qin, is there a supermarket nearby? Qin was playing with the cow he bought and replied quietly, leave the community and go east, it's half an hour's drive back and forth. Thank you. The fat man withdrew some cash, picked up his mobile phone and car keys and went out. Sotingyu approached Qin and her eyes fell on cow. Qin, do you think there is anything wrong with cow? Although some signs of this dungeon indicate that it is a dungeon with catastrophic attributes, the King of Flowers in Beiwa City is full of weirdness. Qin stared at cow and said, you didn't reply to my message. Sotingyu was confused. What's the message? Qin paused slightly, then turned to stare at Sotingyu. Panel, friend system, information. Several keywords were combined together, and in the flash of lightning, Sotingyu seemed to understand what was going on. Did you send a message? Sotingyu blurted out. After saying that, Sotingyu regretted it. Because, Qin's eyes are getting more and more strange. Ahem. Sotingyu tried to quibble, I was too busy at that time and didn't open the panel. I don't know if you sent a message. Qin was silent, turned his head, and continued to stare at cow, as if he was trying to make a hole. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 51. Not sure if it was an illusion, but Sotingyu felt that cow's petals were a little wilted. Ahem. Sotingyu reached out and moved the flower pot. Then, Qin set his sights on Sotingyu again. Sotingyu, meow, meow, meow. Qin, stare. I will reply in time. Next time, Sotingyu promised with sincerity in his eyes. Qin stared at Sotingyu for a while, then said softly, keep your word. It must count. You can't lie to people. I will never lie. Qin stopped speaking, but his expression softened visibly. Sutingyu coughed and couldn't help but ask, do you want to pull go to make sure you get up? Hearing this, Qin's eyes changed, and then he lowered his head and said nothing. Seeing Qin's familiar state, Sutingyu immediately knocked on his forehead with his hand, feeling extremely annoyed. Meow meow. Let you talk. When the fat man happily returned to the villa with 2 big bags of vegetables and meat, Qin was still standing next to Cao, motionless. Sutingyu lay on the sofa tiredly, like a dead fish that had been stranded. The fat man's joyful and honest voice echoed in the villa, Boss, brother Qin, let you see my 5-star cooking skills tonight. It's absolutely delicious. Do you have any taboos? Or things you don't like to eat? Is 1 soup, 2 vegetables, and 2 meats okay? Do you have a big appetite? I put the amount of rice for 3 bowls of rice per person. 20 minutes later, the aroma of meat and vegetables wafted from the direction of the kitchen. Sutingyu's eyes lit up, like a fish that was lying quietly on the beach, but suddenly had the desire to survive, and jumped up and down. Fat man, what did you cook? It smells so good. Wait a moment, just a moment. The fat man's laughter floated from the kitchen. After another half hour, the fat man placed plates on the dining table, served a large pot of fish soup, and filled 3 bowls of rice. Sutingyu and Qin each found a place to sit down. The fat man took off his apron, went to wash his hands, and came back. Try them both and see if they suit your taste, the fat man greeted the 2 of them. Sutingyu picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and put it into his mouth. Ouch, what a time. Sutingyu's big eyes suddenly lit up, and he lowered his head to take a bite of rice with satisfaction. Haha, brother Qin, let's try it too, the fat man greeted Qin hurriedly when he saw that he didn't move his chopsticks. Okay, pull go. Qin turned to look at Sutingyu and spoke suddenly. The fat man said he was confused. What happened? Sutingyu's expression froze, she resisted the urge to cover her face, and then decisively extended the little finger of her right hand to Qin. Come out on your own. I have to finish it off even if I'm kneeling. Qin also extended his little finger. The little fingers of the 2 people touched each other in mid-air and entangled each other. Seeing this, the fat man lowered his head, took a mouthful of rice, and silently lowered his sense of presence. He suddenly remembered something. Why is it that even though this is a trip for 3 of us, I feel like an extra piece of luggage? The 4th day of copy. Beiwa City, Municipal Library. Sutingyu pointed to the door of the library and shouted energetically, remember, we are going to find all the books about the legend of the flower god and the story of the king of flowers today. No problem, boss, Fatty responded with high spirits. Qin was silent and walked at the front, followed closely by Sutingyu and Fatty. The 3 of them entered the library. The library was very big. Fatty asked the library staff and learned that the books about the history of Beiwa City were all stored on the 5th floor.